Okay. Good evening, guys. It's Marshall here with today's training on the discard. So yesterday I made a post about the discard and some of my personal experience with it and how it affected me emotionally. It put me into a emotional freeze for a good 20 years, especially in dealing with feelings about my mother's death, feelings about life, feelings about my needs. It basically paralyzed my life. Now, today I want to talk about what the invisible relationship behind the discard, what causes it, and why it's so devastating to us. It's an important thing for us to understand that if we're really to heal from narcissistic abuse, if we're really to overcome that trauma, if we're actually to liberate and graduate from codependency, we've got to understand what's really going on and address it at that level. And this is one of the secret reasons that my systems, my tools work so effectively in healing codependency. It's because we're actually addressing the discard trauma. So what is the discard trauma? The discard trauma is the intense experience we experience when the narcissist or the abuser throws us away, when they stop paying attention to us, when they don't give a shit we exist. That's the discard trauma. They're just done. They go and find a different person. They replace us with something else. Hi, Joanne. They go on with their lives. And sometimes the discard happens in an active relationship. That'll show up as silent treatment. That'll show up as stonewalling. That'll show up as them going and absorbing somebody else. They're like, yeah, I'm going to go hang out with my friends. And so they give their friends all their time, attention, and energy and money. They lavish someone else while we're sitting in the background going, what about me? We're starving with our steaming pile of garbage that they let us have, that kind of thing. And then there's the big discard where they just leave. They're done. They leave the relationship. They're going on with their lives. They go out and love bomb somebody else into this nasty little cycle. So the discard trauma is fundamentally the thing we're really fearing when it comes to this whole thing. We're scared that we aren't worth knowing, loving, or keeping. And so we turn to codependency in order to prevent the target, the narcissistic or abusive person, maybe our parent or significant other, from getting rid of us, from discarding us. We make ourselves valuable to them by becoming what we think they want us to be. This is technically called the fawn response that the brain has to fear, because we have 4 responses. That's the fight, flight, then freeze, and then fawn. And this is us fawning. We're trying to make ourselves appealing to the threat so it won't kill us or discard us. Now, there is a secret invisible relationship going on in the background here that we really need to understand and identify so that we can handle this transition out of, move my phone, codependency to actual thriving relationships. And I call this the utility relationship. So the utility relationship is exactly what it sounds like. It's designed to provide a service, to provide something to something else. It's not a reciprocal relationship. It is a transactional experience, much like how you have a transactional experience with your electric company. You pay them money, they give you electricity. That's about it. You also have a transactional experience with your food or with bottles of water, things like that. This is very important to understand because that's a utility-based relationship. Now, what's going on in this utility-based relationship for us is we have 2 roles. Okay, there's 2 basic roles in this relationship. First one is called the consumer. The consumer is this individual, or it's the person with the role of consuming all the things. So I am the consumer of the electricity. I'm the consumer of the water in the bottle. I'm the consumer of the donut. Consume, consume, consume. It's about me. It's about my benefits. It's about what makes me happy. It's about my feelings. It's about my experience. It's beginning to sound familiar. Me, me, me. Typically, the consumer will also be very helpless. They'll be very dependent. They'll be very needy in this aspect. They're going to want the other role, which is called supply, to make them feel better, to regulate their feelings, to regulate their image, to regulate their life, to avoid or prevent consequences happening to them, so that they can go off and do whatever the hell they want in their lives. Okay, that's role number one. Sound familiar? You guys been living with people like that before? Now there's role number two, and that's called supply. And the supply shows up and says, hey, I'm going to give you, the consumer, what you want. So the electrical company is the supply. I'm the consumer, right? The electricity is giving me all this electricity. And the donut's giving me all of itself. So I feel full of the donut. See, that if I was the consumer. But if I'm the donut, I'm like, please eat me up, make me whole by eating me. Take it all, take all of me. Sound familiar too? The supply tends to shed itself. It gives itself up to the consumer in a hope that one day the consumer will see how much the supply loves and cares for it, and that the consumer will then supply to the supply its sense of value. See, codependency, our biggest wound is in value. Am I really worth knowing, loving, and keeping? We don't know because nobody actually loved, known, or kept us for who we are. And that's why we're very scared of the discard, because if I'm the codependent in the relationship, I've made the narcissist or the abuser, the consumer, responsible for that value in exchange for me regulating their emotions. This is why when they inevitably get rid of us, because they don't need us anymore, we put up a boundary, we said no, we've been too needy, too much, too intense, or not enough, they get rid of us. That is why it's so utterly life-shattering. It throws off the entire center of our universe. We're no longer connected to anything that makes sense, because we lose three specific things in the discard that we have depended on the consumer for. That's our identity, that's connection, and that's our value. And so when they throw us in the trash, like we throw a water bottle in the trash, we lose our sense of self. The center of our identity is gone. It would be like the sun vanished. Now, what is the earth going to do? It's going to zip off into space. We lose our bearings. This is why it's so devastating. And it acts as this massive validation that we really aren't worth it. We did all this work. We reached in so deeply. We gave up so much of ourselves. We gave and gave and gave. And it wasn't enough. And we feel like we're worthless because of that. Because we believe our value is in what we do and not who we are. And that's why it's so devastating. Our value is gone because now we're in the trash and we're empty. We don't know who we are. We have to face this emptiness and this loneliness. We have to face this terror in our head that we'll always be emotionally isolated. It's technically called internalized loneliness. We crave their validation, their attention. We need it in order to feel safe again, to feel like we're worth knowing, we're worth living. This is why it's devastating. And to heal this is a very specific process in this, and I'm going to get into tomorrow, because you've got to understand that we're making some very specific mistakes that set us up for this. And these aren't like negative mistakes. These are mistakes that actually reveal the path forward. These are things that are important for us to understand, and we can use them as guides back to ourselves, back to the discovery of who we really are, guys. But this is why the discard shatters us. This is why the discard is even happening. We think we're in a relationship with a person that's going to be reciprocal, okay? And I call it a connection-based relationship. That means both people want to experience connection and value and experience with each other. They want to create something together, and it's heart-centered. It's here in the heart. But in the utility-based relationship model, it's all about that supply and that consumption. So it's an object experience. It's like, oh, you're my donut, you feed me. Oh, well, you're complaining, donut? You're complaining now? Get out. I'll go get a different donut. That's how it works with narcissistic or abusive people because they don't understand emotional value. They look at themselves as an object and they look at the world as an extension of that. Their brains have been locked into a state of being a perpetual 3-year-old where they're unable to have emotional empathy. They're unable to humanize the other individual to the point where they can simulate in their mind that, hey, you have feelings and those feelings matter and you're valuable as a person. And our wounding from being discarded in the past or in the present has convinced us that our value has to be in what we do rather than in who we are, because we haven't gotten that proper experience of being loved for our mere simple existence. So tomorrow I'm going to talk about how we heal this. What do we need to do? What do we need to look at here? What lies are we telling ourselves? How do we address them so we can start to plot a pathway forward so that the discard trauma gets healed, actually accomplish closure on that, and then restore your sense of value? And I said sense of value because it's very important. Your value is already in you. It's intrinsic to your being. Your mind and your orientation to yourself has been programmed to shame that value, deny that value, reject it, and ignore it. We need to get around those things so that we can actually begin to touch and experience it. Because value is an experience of ourselves. It's not something we go out and prove or demonstrate to other people. Okay? So this is the invisible relationship going on in the background with all of this. This is why the discard happens. We're dealing with a utility relationship that we thought was a connection-based relationship. And we have invested our value, our identity, and our sense of connection in this so deeply that when they discard us, we feel gutted. Tomorrow, we'll talk about how we correct this, how we heal from it. And then on Thursday and Friday, I outline where we go from there, rather. Okay. Thank you guys for showing up. I appreciate you. Thank you for being the support you are here in our community. If you're on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you just met me, check that out. If you're new to the Facebook community, definitely participate. Check into all the resources we have here. The links to both of these are in the description above. So if you're on YouTube and you want to join the Facebook community, hit the tribe.freeself.com. And if you're on Facebook, go to tv.freeself.com. You can see all my active trainings there as well. So I thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you. We'll talk tomorrow about how to heal this. And remember that you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. Have a good night, guys.